So, I was minding my own business, scrolling through reels, and then boom, another slow-mo video of some guy pinning a girl to a wall with the caption, "He's toxic, but he's mine." And I just sat there like, huh, again? Like at this point, if I see one more edit of a fictional man holding a knife to a woman's throat while someone in the comments says, "Ugh, I need him," I'm going to just launch myself into space with no helmet. Because book talk, especially dark romance book talk, is in its villain era. And I don't mean fun Disney villain vibes, I mean deeply concerning. Are you sure you're okay kind of vibes. Now before anyone grabs pitchforks, let me say this. I am not here to cancel fiction. I'm not here to tell you what you can or can't enjoy, I get it. Some of these stories are written for escapism, for thrill, for emotional release. We've all read messy characters, we've all rooted for a problematic ship once or twice in our lives. But there's a difference between understanding something is problematic and turning it into hashtag couple goals. The way Book Talk edits dark romance is wild. You'll see a guy choking a girl, slamming her against the wall, literally threatening her life, and then some soft violin music plays, the screen goes blurry, and the caption's like, "The way he loves her." Be for real. Be for real. And the most terrifying part is, these reels aren't just floating in adult corners of the internet, they're blowing up. They're hitting the For You pages of 13, 14, 15-year-olds who are just beginning to understand relationships. Young girls who are still forming ideas about love, respect, and boundaries. And what they're learning is that if a guy's nice to you, he's boring. But if he threatens to kill for you, then he's soulmate material. Let's just take a second and talk about the infamous Zade Meadows. Yes, that's Zade. From Haunting Adeline. Book Talk's favorite criminal. This man breaks into her house, watches her through hidden cameras, sends her terrifying letters, then literally, do her. And people are calling him Book Boyfriend of the Year. Y'all, this is not enemies to lovers. This is straight up felonies to fantasy. And I've seen people try to defend it like, but he's only like that because he loves her so much. That is anything but romantic. And we've got Carter Mahoney from Untouchable, who assaults the main character repeatedly, mocks her trauma, and then magically becomes a love interest. Or what about the priest from Lessons in Sin, grooming a teenage girl and somehow turning that into a steamy, forbidden romance? Or even Den of Vipers, where there's abuse, manipulation, humiliation, and it's all played off as alpha male behavior, which is BTW so famous among this young boys too. Like, I'm sorry, since when did criminal activity become the new love language? Did I miss a memo? And I know, people say, it's just fiction. Let people enjoy things. And yes, sure, we can enjoy dark stories, intense plots, morally gray characters. That's not the issue. The issue is when we romanticize it. When the line between fiction and real life gets so blurred that people actually start thinking this is what love is supposed to look like. Because it starts with reading about a guy who won't take no for an answer, and ends with real-life partners thinking that crossing your boundaries is some grand gesture. And the truth is, a lot of people do carry that thinking into their real relationships without even realizing it. It's easy to joke about toxic love when it's in a book and the guy is hot and fictional and the red flags are in Times New Roman italics. But in real life, those same traits, jealousy, manipulation, emotional volatility, don't come with a soundtrack or a plot twist. They come with trauma and pain. And the scary thing is, when people constantly consume these stories without context, especially at a young age, it does rewire what they think is normal. I've seen teenage girls say, "I want a guy who's obsessed with me like Zade." Babe, no you don't. You want someone who listens, supports you, respects your space, and makes you feel safe. Not someone who breaks into your home to prove a point. We need to stop teaching girls that a man hurting you means he cares deeply. That the more intense and violent the relationship is, the more passionate it is. That is not passion. That is dysfunction. That is power being disguised as love. And you know it is sad that healthy relationships get labeled as boring now. Like if the guy asks for consent, communicates clearly, and respects your autonomy, somehow that's a turnoff. What timeline are we in? Since when did basic decency become unattractive? We laugh at it like, oh, he's just too nice. No, he's emotionally mature. He's the guy you actually want in your life when you're not living in a Wattpad fantasy. But social media keeps pushing this narrative that unless he's threatening to burn the world down for you, it's not real love. Spoiler alert, it is. And it's way better than walking on eggshells in a relationship with someone who thinks possessiveness is romantic. Again, I'm not saying throw away your dark romance books. Read what you want. But let's not pretend these are love stories, especially when we know how powerful book talk is. The way it influences reading trends, buying decisions, even how people talk about relationships, it matters. The things we glamorize matter. And we owe it to ourselves and the younger generation to be more mindful of the messages we're spreading. And before someone says, well, people can tell the difference between fiction and reality, sure, some can. But not everyone does. Especially not the younger audience book talk has basically adopted. I mean, TikTok isn't exactly known for its age filters, right? You could be 13 and stumble onto an edit of a guy throwing a girl over his shoulder while she screams, no, but it's captioned, get you a man like this. That's concerning. Not every 13-year-old is equipped to process the nuance of this is fiction, not something to expect or accept. And even if you're older, if all you consume is media where possessiveness equals love, where stalking means devotion, where silence and manipulation are considered mysterious, it chips away at your baseline. Slowly, you start excusing things. You start saying, well, at least he's not that bad, because your standard of what bad looks like has been completely altered. When a 400-page book spends half its time convincing you that the guy isn't actually that terrible deep down, you start to believe it. You see a man violate a woman's consent, but because there's a tragic backstory and a steamy chapter later on, suddenly it's framed as growth. We start confusing vulnerability with redemption. But being traumatized doesn't give anyone the right to traumatize others. Period. It's not just the male characters either. Some of these stories portray women as people who just need to be broken to fall in love. Like, they're strong until the right man ruins them. These authors aren't even hiding it. Like some literally write disclaimers in the beginning. This book contains non-consensual scenes. If that's not your thing, don't read. And then proceed to market the book as a spicy, forbidden romance. Babe, that's a crime. You don't get to slap a warning on it and then pretend it's peak romance. And the fans? Oh my God. Some of them are ride or die. You point out that a character is literally a predator, and they're like, you just don't get it. He was broken. He didn't know how to love. Number he knew how to control. That's not the same thing. There are men out there who don't hurt women when they're sad. Let's stop giving fictional men more grace than real women get for speaking out about abuse. It's almost become a trend to one-up each other on how dark and twisted your book boyfriend is. Like, oh, your guy choked her during a fight? Well, mine locked her in a basement and made her beg for food. What is this? The Olympic Games of toxic masculinity? And yeah, some people are self-aware. They'll say, I know he's terrible, but I love it in fiction. And that's fine, truly. But book talk doesn't always add that last part, the in-fiction part. The context gets lost in a sea of aesthetic montages, spicy quotes, and thirst trap edits. And suddenly you've got a 16-year-old watching that and thinking, oh, this is what love is supposed to feel like. Because the more this content blows up, the more authors feel pressured to write even more extreme stuff to go viral. And it becomes this race. Who can write the most unhinged male lead that will somehow still call romantic? Who can get the most spice without regard for emotional or ethical logic? These books rarely ever show actual love. They show obsession, lust, dominance, trauma bonding, but rarely care, communication, mutual healing. It's all fireworks, no foundation. And I get it, slow burns and healthy relationships aren't always as flashy. But that doesn't mean they're boring, it just means they're real, and we need more of that. So, no, I'm not saying throw away your books or unfollow everyone on Book Talk. I'm saying read responsibly, think critically, enjoy your messy fiction, but name it for what it is. And please, for the love of everything, stop making reels with the caption, "He's so toxic, I love it." That joke isn't landing anymore. It's hitting too close to real-life trauma for too many people.